Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode here of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I'm your host, the fellow KGB, and we are joined tonight by John Heffernon. What's going on, man? Thanks for hanging out.
Hey, man. What's up? How you doing, Kyle?
It's Tuesday. It was 40 degrees here in Milwaukee. It was a really weird, just like this is like spring weather kind of day, and like all the snow started melting. So it was a pretty exciting day as far as spring goes. But you're in Chicago. I don't know if Chicago had good weather. Did they have?
I could not tell you how glorious the day was here in Chicago. It was 47.
Yep.
Very sunny, and atypical for Chicago. Not much wind at all. And
Yeah.
I live right by the lake, so if I'm not feeling much wind, most people in the city aren't feeling much wind, and that makes for a very warm day in late February, which is not known for warm days. So very happy. I went for a jog outside actually, and it was I think easily the first time I ran outside in February, and it was brilliant. So
The spring tease. So
absolutely.
We got, potential for other bullshit happening. But anyways, it was a beautiful day, beautiful Tuesday. We got some NBA action tonight, but I did want to get into this. We got the NBA All-Star reserves have been revealed. We know who the top 5 guys were in each conference. I can pull that up if you guys want to look at it. But we have some, guys making their first NBA All-Star appearance. That's Jalen Brown down here. I believe it's Zach LaVine's first All-Star appearance, and then
yes. Not his first appearance at All-Star Weekend, but his first appearance in the All-Star game.
And then Zion as well. So we had 4 new additions to the All-Star cast: Zion, Jalen Brown, Zach LaVine, and Julius Randle. So that was pretty cool. I'm hoping that is there going to be a rookie sophomore game this year? I haven't looked to see if that's going to happen.
I don't believe so. I think all they're doing is the All-Star game, and then I think they've kicked around at halftime, so they would make halftime like an extra long extended halftime. And at halftime, they were going to do some sort of mini dunk contest. That is what I've heard. And beyond that, they're not doing any other like basketball events, given the pandemic. And I could be mistaken, but that's pretty close to what I've heard.
And then here are just the starters real quick. It looks like Bradley Beal gets the start for the East. That's pretty nice. Wasn't he snubbed? Bradley Beal was snubbed last year, I believe.
The only bad thing about my 2020 was Bradley Beal didn't make the NBA All-Star team.
Chris Middleton, I guess, stole his spot. So I guess it was technically corrected, I guess, this year. But anyways, this is going to be I think the East-West this year, now that Durant's in the East, and then you also got James Harden coming off the bench. This is going to be one for the East, I think. But anyways, really exciting All-Star game. That's going to be Sunday, March 7th. So we're going to be going into a break pretty soon here for the fantasy basketball schedule. It looks like the last day of games is going to be Thursday night, March 4th. So I don't know if we'll do any shows during that All-Star break week, but we do have 2 weeks or so left of some fantasy basketball going on. And then Aiden brings another important thing here is no Domantas Sabonis. Did he not make the list? I don't think I saw him on the list.
Go back to the list. I'm Kyle. I can't. There was one thing we talked about at the beginning of the show about the number of teams that miss games,
yep.
And I'm kind of having to DIY the list a little bit. So I'm multitasking a little bit. But Aiden, thank you for pointing this out, because if Sabonis did not make the team, which Aiden is 100% correct. Unless he wasn't a starter, was he? No way, I would assume.
I guess on the other side.
Yep, good call. So yeah, Sabonis missed it, which is a massive snub. I mean, I'm a big Vucevic fan, and I'm a big LaVine fan. But man, those guys are, I don't know, and they're having solid years. But Sabonis is really playing quite well. Hard to leave a guy like that off.
If you were to take somebody out for Sabonis, who do you take out? Does Simmons deserve it? Did Simmons have an amazing half of the year?
I think you could easily take Vucevic, Simmons, or LaVine off, and I would be totally fine with it. I wouldn't argue with 1 second. You could rank those guys in different ways.
Sure.
But those 3 are the weakest, on the roster. I don't know. And they're having good years. There's nothing against them. They're just they're just. I think there are some better players in the East.
Pretty sure this. I think Vucevic is having a career year, so I'm totally cool with him being left in the cast. I think it'd be between Levine and Simmons. One of those two, I think, could be bounced for our guy there.
We absolutely should look up the Vucevic stat line at some point because I feel like I'm super disrespecting him right now. He's gonna be like some sort of like 25-10 with like really good assists situation, and I'm gonna be like, okay, never mind.
All right. So on the season, he's averaging 24.1 points, 11.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, a steal, and about half a block per game.
No turnovers though. Good Lord, that's impressive. I mean, 1.6, but like that's and he's a big guy, but the offense runs through him a lot. He's impressive. The entire Magic, they're not a great team, but they go around him. He'll take, he always brings a really good game of basketball to the floor. So he's awesome.
How about this with our scoring system here? He's averaging just as many fantasy points as LeBron James per game this year. So I think Vucevic, it's well deserved. I think that's really awesome that he was able to get in there. So I don't know. Sabonis though, that was probably for me that's the biggest snub. I would agree there with Aiden for sure. And then I don't know. Did Trae Young get snubbed? Did Trae Young not sneak in here?
Trae Young's not starting. I mean, if Trae Young's not starting, then what the heck's going on here?
Did Trae Young get snubbed here? No Trae Young. Wow.
Well, I guess the starters are the right choices, though. I mean, you could argue Giannis a little bit, but his stats are just so stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
the rest are just obvious. So
these are technically the players in the NBA. You see Jokic, Giannis, Luka.
Damn.
Harden's technically, better points per game than Durant, but I don't know if some of his rocket numbers are into that as well. But Damian Lillard could be, a starter. I think in this. Aiden kind of called out the Dame top 5 disrespect. It's gone a little too far. I could see Dame starting in this, but then you got to pull out Curry, and I don't know if he can do that. Maybe Kawhi should come off the bench. I don't know.
You could pull out Jokic and move like LeBron to small forward or something.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It's I think the West looks pretty solid. You could remove Kawhi too, I suppose. But I just
interchangeable.
I think the West looks about right.
Man, this is I really enjoy having Durant and I guess now Harden into the East. That game's going to be pretty wicked. But anyways, I don't know. What are we going to get into? Have you found anything on that list? Because we were talking off air about teams that have missed the most amount of games due to COVID or whatever reason, and that teams that need to make up games in the second half of the year. Because we still don't know the schedule for fantasy basketball or real basketball the rest of the way after the All-Star break. So we were kind of thinking maybe there's players and teams that have like an extra 7 or 8 games that might, be potential trade candidates for us. So did you find anything, John, or do you want me to look some stuff up?
No. I've got the official list from the NBA. I think the problem with it is it's in this format, and I was trying to figure out a really quick way to
off the top.
Do a little count. But yeah, there's a lot of there's teams that I've noticed, like the Grizzlies, that I think have 4 or 5 missed games. Teams like the Spurs and the Hornets that at least have like 2 or 3. And there's quite a few other teams that pop up here multiple times. Most of the teams I think pop up only once though. The
Wizards missed a handful of chunks. I can see their name at like maybe 4 or 5 times. I got 6 times. I got a lot of Wizards on my mind right now.
Now you have to pay attention to one of these things. If you look, so some of these have little annotations to the right. So this February 7th Blazers Hornets game that has officially been moved to the second half of the season. This Wizards Hornets game has already been played actually, and so some of these games are in fact like being played in the first half of the schedule. So that's what I like about this list too. It's like it doesn't tell you like the number per team, but at least it tells you like when the next game is too. So
perhaps after the show, I'll make like a little Google Sheets thing and we can tweet it out and just make sure we get the list of all the teams that are going to be playing more games. But I don't
I
know.
thought it was a stronger multitasker because I'm trying to do both right now, but I'm failing at making the list because talking about basketball is just too much fun.
So I will kind of carry over the workload for a little bit here. I guess in the chat room, if you guys have any specific topics or players you guys want us to look at. Otherwise, I'm just gonna filter by the last 7 days and look at the whole NBA and just kind of see who's like been playing out of their minds lately. So I'm just kind of filtering again by the last 7 days. I'm looking for someone that kind of sticks out. Nobody on that first page there. David Nawaba. Can I talk about David Nawaba for like a minute real quick?
Please take all the time you want.
So the reason I was interested in Mr. David Nawaba was one because of NBA Top Shot. He's got a pretty sick dunk available on the NBA Top Shot website, and I just noticed in the last few games because Victor Oladipo and I can't remember who else it was. They had another guy that was out and it was allowing him to get Eric Gordon. So no Eric Gordon and Oladipo lately for the last week or so. And Nawaba's been just getting, really healthy starter minutes. And when he gets the opportunity, he's been a really good scorer. I think he just tied his career high, 22 points and 9 rebounds last night against Chicago. He went off for 40.75 fantasy points. And then a couple nights ago, about a week ago, actually, he put up 43.25 fantasy points. So he's on a really nice trend here. And as long as Oladipo and Eric Gordon are going to be missing action, David Nawaba has been one of the best probably buys and ads that you can get right now. He's less than 5% owned too, and he's averaging over 20 points per game on the season. But if you filter by the last 7 days, all of a sudden he's averaging almost 34 fantasy points per game. So David Nawaba, interesting player. And I think he's got 3 more games to go the rest of the week. So he's the first one that sticks out because the way I filtered was by the last 7 days. And then I'm just looking down for rostered. And
look at Halliburton. Oh my God.
And it just, he's all over. I think next year, like we're going to be talking about how high do we take a guy like Tyrese Halliburton. He's playing tonight right now against Brooklyn. That might be a fun game to kind of tune into. But the dude has arrived. I just want to let's pull up the. Have we talked about the Sacramento Kings on this show at all? I don't.
Probably not much. But yeah, Halliburton is, I don't know, something about him. He's got that it factor, which you absolutely need to have if you're going to play point guard in the NBA. I mean, it's just a prerequisite. If you can't control the floor, if your guys can't like follow you into battle, it's just not going to work out. And Halliburton is absolutely that kind of player, and it's fun to see those guys establish themselves so early in their career. I mean, not a lot of the greats can do that. So I'd be interested to see how he produces going forward.
So he starts with De'Aaron Fox. Do they primarily use him as the 2 when Fox is in the lineup, and then they let him play the point when Fox needs a breather? Like I said, I haven't.
I think Halliburton he's such a good basketball player. He fits nice and neatly with another point guard, De'Aaron Fox is super ball dominant, and Halliburton just fits like a glove right next to him. I think you take a guy like Fox away and maybe replace him with more of a shooting guard or a small forward. I think Halliburton, just his assists maybe even double, and certainly his turnovers would skyrocket too. But he can do what you need him to do. I think he's a really fascinating chess piece for a basketball team right now.
I was going to say, I have a player that he kind of reminds me of. I've seen him a little bit, but he kind of reminds me of Malcolm Brogdon, a guy who's not super, super gifted with any like one talent, but a guy that's just good at everything. And Malcolm Brogdon kind of can fit anywhere. He doesn't need to play. He doesn't need to have the ball in his hand to be good. He can if he needs to, but he's kind of just like this utility point guard that if the points aren't falling, he's going to find other ways to get into the box score. So I like Halliburton quite a bit. Now I was also looking because they got De'Aaron Fox, Halliburton, and Buddy Hield. Like, there's no way they're going to be able to keep all these guys around for a while. I wonder if Buddy Hield's going to potentially be. I don't know. Just thinking out loud here. But this is filtered by the last 15 days, and Marvin Bagley is their leading scorer. Actually, he's their second leading scorer. Hold on here. So De'Aaron Fox, 38.3 points per game the last 15 days. But Marvin Bagley averaging 33.3. And he had a 50-point game against Chicago, 26 and 11. He's been racking up some double doubles. I think Rashawn Holmes has been injured, but you're starting to see. Wasn't he the former second overall pick?
Yes, he was sandwiched between Aiton and Doncic. Maybe 2018, 2019. Don't quote me on the year, but maybe 2019, 2020. I don't know. Time moves fast. But Bagley is incredible. He's a guy I've invested in NBA Top Shot, and I like this kid. He's a good basketball player. I think health is his big concern. He's not a great defender, but he's also a Sacramento King, so that's not necessarily something that's going to keep him off the floor. I like him. I think he's got a lot of room to grow too. He's probably 22 at this point, maybe even 21. He's a great player.
So I think like one of the reasons why he had a nice little increase in numbers is Rashawn Holmes missed a couple games. I really like Rashawn Holmes as a player, and he's technically the actual starter at the 5 spot for them. But all of a sudden, like you see Marvin Bagley's numbers start to tip up a little bit. Like if you look here, end of January, you see 22, 20, 26, 22 minutes, sometimes in the teens. Just in the last handful of games, you see 29, 35, 24, 21. Starting to just get those ramped up a little bit in the upper 20s and even mid 30s. So, like, one of my things that I've been thinking about is, especially for a team like the Kings, these teams that are fringe bubble teams potentially, or teams that aren't going to make the playoffs, like they're going to continue to play their younger players as the season wears on. I wouldn't mind trying to get Bagley in a deal if you can buy low on this opportunity right now. Because Rashawn Holmes and Hassan Whiteside, both those guys have been very injury prone. They both miss a lot of time. Whiteside's been kind of he's just so hot and cold. I don't really think the Kings like his output right now. So I'm kind of really into Marvin Bagley. I don't know if there's anything else for you here on the Sacramento Kings. Any final thoughts?
I don't know if I wouldn't sell the farm for Bagley, but yeah, if you could get him for like one of your kind of mid-tier guys that you're not in love with, or something less than that, sure, absolutely. I don't have anything else on the Kings. I think
Aiden just said CJ's coming back soon. Is that CJ McCollum? Are we talking CJ McCollum over here? I'm not sure. Not to change the subject, but I think we covered the Kings enough. But I think
we did too. I think we did. We probably covered them enough for the entirety of the history of the pod. But we'll be back. We'll be back.
We'll check in April, and we'll see what's going on. But here's some good news on CJ McCollum. This was from a week ago, but it said he'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. So this was February 16th. Today is the 23rd. So we're a week away from him being reevaluated. He had a checkup last Tuesday, and it looks like he could return before the All-Star break, which would be pretty crazy. They can maybe get him just a little bit of conditioning in for the All-Star break. So check in with the CJ McCollum owner and see what they need. If they're a team that needs a win, the next week or two, just offer him, a low ball one for CJ McCollum. He did have that broken. I think it was the foot. I don't know if it was broken or what the issue was. I can't remember, but interesting potential buy low there for CJ McCollum. Should we cover any other like injured players here that might be able to help us down the stretch?
IR
eligible.
Yeah. Look at the list.
5% rostered. So of course, like Kevin Durant, how long has he been out for? He's got a hamstring injury. He's ruled out for Tuesday's game.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't news to people. If you can get Kevin Durant on your fantasy team, you should probably try to do it. I don't care what kind of injury he has. If someone is willing to sell him low right now, I would go make some moves.
I think the way to ask, like, if the Kevin Durant owner is frustrated, or if he's like maybe 500, he needs a win or two.
Yeah,
maybe just say, hey man, what do you want for Kevin Durant? Like it's you don't have to go hard for him, but just poke around and see, hey, what are you doing with Kevin Durant over there? He keeps missing games. You need some points now, man. And then of course Anthony Davis. We kind of talked about this last week, but I don't know. He's facing a 4-week recovery timetable. I think we didn't cover this. I think last Tuesday we covered this, but we didn't get this 4-week recovery timetable. I think it was told as 2 or 3 weeks. So
that's true.
We might not see him till April. You gotta assume maybe all of March for Anthony Davis. So how?
All of March. So yeah, so he won't come back until the second half then, Kyle. Is that basically what you're telling me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's out until the All-Star break at least. So if you have
Yeah.
Anthony Davis on your team, how would you handle this, John?
Well, I would hope my commissioner was wise enough to install an IR slot first off,
Mhm.
so I can take advantage of that because Anthony Davis is exactly what you would use an IR slot right now. But after that, I would just you're not really replacing him. Maybe we could look at some kind of 50% rostered and lower power forwards, so I could give the people and he has center eligibility too. So honestly, you're probably leaning on him pretty heavily for center. So you might need some center help too. But I would just kind of work the waiver wire. I think we talked a lot last week about the opportunity for the other players in Anthony Davis's role while he's out. And, if you can get Kuzma for a very cheap price, or if he's somehow not rostered, I would run and do that. I would run. Maybe not run to a trade, but if there's someone very much expendable on your team that you could trade for Kuzma, I wouldn't be afraid to do that.
And got some interesting like power forward center types for you if you need somebody. Like, I think we talked about Wendell Carter Jr. returning a week or two ago, and he's still under 50% owned.
Wow,
Great.
That's surprising.
I mean, if
Yeah,
you
so
an AD owner, like this is one of the answers for you. He's about 47% owned. And then have you checked out the stats on Robert Williams III lately for Boston?
not lately, but I've definitely been hearing some very impressive things, and he's been one of the people on my watch list this year.
Yeah, so three of the last 4 games, he's been over 30 points, almost up to 40. The minutes are still not there, but you'd like to see him hit the 20s. He wasn't really consistently hitting these marks. So if you look at his last 7-day stats compared to his season stats, minutes are up, the points are up, the boards are up, the assists are up, the steals are up, and the blocks are up, and the turnovers are down. Literally everything is green here for Robert Williams.
Go. Even his jersey. I would say he's absolutely a really interesting pickup. His ownership was higher than I thought it would be. Oh no, 21%. Yeah, he's great. He's great and rising, certainly.
I think this parentheses means like in the last 7 days. So his percent rostership has shot up over these last few big games. But Brad Stevens says he would like to get his playing time up towards the end of the season. So this is a guy that maybe after the All-Star break, you're going to start to see him maybe, hit maybe 24, 25 minutes per game. I think that, at this point, in such a small sample size, this dude's he's doubling up his minutes for fantasy points. So you see 21 minutes, almost 42 fantasy. He's basically a 2 points per minute fantasy player. So you love to see that. Robert Williams, only 21% owned. So I'm a big fan there. We got an interesting question here from Aiden in the chat room. And this one's pretty good. So Demarcus Cousins was dropped in a 12-person league. His worst player is Anthony Edwards. Should I look to pick him up? Top teams trying to get him like Laker, Blazers, and so
I would definitely hold Edwards because Aiden, you have 5 points per 3-point shot. So Edwards shoots a lot more threes, and Edwards is also he's kind of having a good year. So I would definitely hold Edwards.
I'm not sure if that is his. I'm not sure if the 12-man league is the league with the tilted scoring. But I guess if you're playing in just a typical league, like we're probably not dumping Anthony Edwards at this point, are we? Like Anthony Edwards is a hold.
I certainly like Anthony Edwards. Cousins has been having a great season, but there's no guarantee he goes to a situation where he is equally utilized. So, the Rockets, they both end with ETS, so obviously. But yeah, the Rockets were desperate for big men. I don't know. There's not a lot of teams that fit that mold. So I don't know if Cousins is walking into a situation where he's scoring 25 fantasy points a game.
And then Aiden did say that it's a normal ESPN scoring format. So I think, and also too, like Demarcus Cousins' value has been lifted because of the absence of Christian Wood. So if anything, right now, I mean, I just filtered by last 7 days, so he's got a massive game here that counts. But if we do the last 15 days, these guys are pretty much dead even. And I just think in terms of yes, like Cousins could be traded, but he could also be traded to somewhere where his value doesn't grow that much, maybe. Whereas Anthony Edwards, we still think there's room for him to grow as the season gets younger, and a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're just going to continue to feed Anthony Edwards minutes and basically get him prepared for the 2022 season. So I think we're going to keep Anthony Edwards, but I guess in a typical league, I think Demarcus Cousins should be owned. So like if you have anybody else, like if his worst player is Anthony Edwards, so his team must be doing pretty good. But dang.
Yeah, I think Edwards is on the come up, and I think Cousins is likely going to a situation that's probably worse for him, statistically on the court, performance wise. I think he's, maybe going to a playoff team. So who knows?
And then Aiden just added, what do you think about Darius Garland? So I'm assuming Darius Garland's also potentially one of the worst players on his team. I still really like Darius Garland. I think the Cavs also really like him. You see the minutes, like he's a guy that they want to have on the floor, and it kind of fits the narrative I've been talking about. Is like a team like the Cavaliers, they'll be lucky to make the playoffs. They're just going to continue to play their young guards, and a guy like Garland, I think I'd rather just play with I don't know, the consistency of the minutes, the scoring. I feel safer with Garland, whereas with Cousins, I mean, what's the ideal landing spot for DeMarcus Cousins, like for his fantasy value, just to be like insanely, just take off like in a huge way? Like, is there anything that comes to mind?
First off, what if I told you everything you said about Darius Garland applies to Anthony Edwards, plus one additional very important thing, which is draft capital?
Yep.
But to answer your question, DeMarcus Cousins, I think fits in so many interesting places. Now, are they cutting Cousins, or are they trying to trade him?
The rumor was they're trying to move him. I thought it was you that said that in our chat on the side.
Because here it said, yeah. So I might have said that a couple of days ago, but yeah, they've released. Yeah, I think I saw this tweet earlier today. They released Cousins, so he's available. I don't necessarily know, who can afford to pay him off the top of my head more than a veteran minimum contract. So I don't know if money has any part to play here, but teams that could use a guy like Cousins, I think the Bucks could. I think the Bucks could easily use him. We need some backup bigs. I think the Lakers maybe could use him, kind of filling in for Anthony Davis right now, and also kind of like if Marc Gasol or Anthony Davis or Montrezl Harrell break down in the playoffs, it'd be nice to have some insurance. Mm-hmm. So those are two teams off the top of my head, contenders that I think wouldn't mind having Anthony Davis around. I think the Blazers come to mind. I know they're relying on Enes Kanter constantly, and while Kanter has been way more productive and solid than anyone gives him credit for, he's also injury prone, and if he's your only center,
is coming back here. There's been no news on him. But this is an oft-injured player here in Joseph Nurkic. But I have two other dark horse teams for you while I switch to the NBA standings. How do you feel about like the Toronto Raptors finally getting a center here as the 5 seed? They add a guy like Cousins. I don't know if they have the cap to do it, but he's a fringe starter for them. Like he would probably be starting for them at some point. If they do add him. And then, of course, there's the New York Knicks. I don't know what the report is on Mitchell Robinson, but he's got that fractured hand. The Knicks they're trying to make the playoffs. So, like, that to me doesn't seem so bad. What do we got for 4? What's the
4 weeks for Robinson 2 weeks ago is what I know, because I picked up Robinson maybe 1 week ago, but I picked up Robinson once I saw the 4-week thing.
So initially,
that was a week ago, February 16th.
And it was initially a 4 to 6 week timetable. His last game was on the 13th, so that's 3 weeks more in February, essentially. So as soon as the second half of the season starts, like right after All-Star break, Mitchell Robinson should be ready to roll.
That's kind of my thought, yeah.
Maybe ease back in during that first week. So I like that. Mitchell Robinson too, if we may. So we're kind of hitting on players that were potentially injured that might be worth a pickup. And his stock has dropped a little bit. It's under 64% owned. And John was able to snag Mitchell Robinson when someone in our league cut him. So this is a savvy move. This is he's kind of inconsistent, but he's another guy that gets consistent minutes, and you just kind of ride the highs and the lows. This guy's a rebounding freak. He can get steals and blocks very easily. So Mitchell Robinson, definitely check your league and see if he is available. But I'm trying to remember where we were before we got into this conversation.
I guess talking about teams that could use which center were we talking about? Oh, Demarcus Cousins. Yeah. So I think the Raptors make a lot of sense. You know, I always think the Celtics could use another center. Even if they love Thompson and Robert Williams and who's the white center they have? Oh my gosh, he's wow, I can't. I'm totally drawing a blank. I can picture him in my eyes. I know the tattoos on his arms. I can't say his name. Yeah, those two teams I think could use a center, and that's just the East. We didn't even look at the West yet. I mentioned the Lakers. I mentioned the Blazers. The Mavericks. The Mavericks could use him as a good insurance to Kristaps, who always breaks down.
Why not Golden State? I mean,
because he was there before, and maybe that it just didn't work out for either side. But why not? I don't know. He would fit there really nicely. They could use him.
And I just think, like, if you're Cousins, like, you're not going to a team that has no chance to make the playoffs, right? Like, you need to go to a contender. That's why the Knicks are interesting. Like, even if he's, a role player, he can be the 6th or 7th guy there for Mitchell Robinson. But I think his best shot for starting minutes is going to be Toronto. Or, I mean, as long as Cantor's playing healthy, he's going to be the backup to Cantor. But the Trailblazers, I think that could be a fun ride to hitch yourself to. So those are probably the two best names to keep an eye on. But I like that.
We save the best for last, like we always do, for the people who wait through our jabbering and our yammering. The Brooklyn Nets, Kyle, all they have is DeAndre Jordan, and then they're throwing James Harden in that center and Jeff Green. And to be fair to both of them, they've not been the worst at it, but they literally just have DeAndre Jordan, and they absolutely could use some insurance or just a guy who can play 20 to 30 minutes a night right now.
Mm-hmm. So those Nets, Raptors, Blazers, Lakers, those probably some of the best teams to keep an eye on there. And I think you mentioned the Clippers. Like, could he be a rotational player on the Clippers?
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, and another kind of piece that needs insurance, Ibaka. I mean, I'm not trying to talk disrespect about some of these players I'm bringing up. It's just they're either old, they're either injury prone, and some of them are both. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely would love a little bit of Ibaka insurance if you could get some.
And I just think that any team that's looking to make a serious, deep run into the playoffs, like, why not kick the tires and just say, hey, let's just kind of work him into the rotation and see what he's got. It's you don't really get too many DeMarcus Cousins hitting the wire very often, so it's worth a look. But
Cousins is playing well right now. I mean, you notice we mentioned a lot of teams. I mean, who couldn't he help? I'm sorry, there's a siren coming by. I'm just going to mute myself for a minute.
All right, no problem. But before, I guess we're talking about Cousins, but I did just see Aiden put up a good question here. Have you seen this Saban Lee? Because I noticed in our fellowship league, Jesse, happy birthday, Jesse, by the way, if you're listening or watching this some other time. Happy birthday to Blake, by the way, too. Blake and Jesse, same birthday in the same day. That's cool.
Happy birthday, Jesse. Happy birthday, Blake. Love you guys. Enjoy your old age.
But I see Jesse go out here and add Saban Lee. And I'm like, who is this Saban Lee? And I go and look, and of course, he popped off for 32 points here. He had 33 minutes, but 12 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, just filling it out. He's playing Orlando right now, and he's already kind of holding his own here. He's got 17.25 points. Have you heard of this Saban Lee? Do you have any information to offer here? Is this just Detroit kind of maybe just striking something here off the G League? I have no idea who this player is, but he's productive in his minutes so far, so that's exciting to see. Any thoughts?
I am 100% speechless. I've never heard of this gentleman before, and good for you, Saban. I hope you keep it up, and if you do, I guarantee I will learn your name.
So he played at Vanderbilt. He's 21 years old. It looks like he was a round 2 pick, number 38 overall. So it's not like he's,
Yeah.
That's pretty good investment, early, second round pick there. And he's been on the Pistons. He hasn't been anywhere else. And this is his second year in the league, I believe. So I don't know. Someone to keep an eye on. Definitely add him to your watch list. We'll do that for sure. Saban Lee, though, it looks like he's playing really well. I want to check out the score. So they have the whole fourth quarter here yet, and it looks like he was a starter tonight. No, he was one of the first guys off the bench. It looks like, but Saddiq Bey continues to get the starts there. I like seeing this.
What do you think about that Saddiq Bey stat line to start a game?
8 and 8. That sounds like a floor, going forward. And then the bonus points happen like when he has a game where he just he hits like 15, 16 points and he gets his regular rebounds. Should we look at Saddiq Bey real quick?
I always want to look at Saddiq Bey. He's his stats, at least. The way I said it before sounded a little weird.
So we kind of hit this trend when he was hitting that 45.5 to 36 game, but he's starting to build a solid floor here. He's got 27.5 points tonight currently. He's got 8 points, 8 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, but the last couple games, 24.25 points, 17.75, and 27. Like if you can get this as your worst player, I'm all for. This is great. This is great. Again, and this is kind of the narrative that I've been talking about. These are the players that I'm really excited about. It's those young rookie second-year players that they got nothing to lose the second half of the season. Like these guys are getting, like, look at his minutes, like 25, 30, 32, 32. This is going to be consistent the rest of the way. He's not going to be just kind of tossed to the side here. This is a player the Pistons want to get involved here. So Saddiq Bey, like, how excited are you about seeing Saddiq Bey finally start to put it together?
Very excited. He was one of my favorite rookies. I was, you guys know I was really, really slurping that Killian Hayes Kool-Aid to start the year. But Saddiq Bey, I was very excited for him. I wasn't as low on Isaiah Stewart. I didn't love that pick, but I wasn't as low on it as some people I saw. And I think they have a lot of interesting young pieces. Bey is, at this point, maybe their most interesting.
And then I'm going to go to Detroit's, just looking at their fantasy players. Do we know when Killian Hayes is expected back? Is he somebody, again, that it just fits this narrative that I have of wanting players who are going to just continue to see minutes and ramp up their playing time. So Killian Hayes here, let's see what he's got for news updates. No news updates on Mr. Killian Hayes, so let's do a little Google search. He got injured like that second week, right?
No, I don't think so. I think he got.
It was mid-January. It was mid-January, and he was ruled out for 8 weeks. So that puts him out 2 months. And it was the end of January. It said suffered injury on January 4th. So my bad, the beginning of January. So that puts us.
No, but I mean the game. You're right, Kyle, because the season's.
Here you go. This is he's going to be ready for the All-Star after the All-Star break. If that's 8 weeks with a hip injury, and you put him out 2 months from there, that means March 4th. So after the All-Star break, we're going to see Killian Hayes back in the lineup for our Detroit Pistons, and he's under 8% owned. If you have a IR spot, you can kind of hold the fort down for the next 2 weeks. I can see the mind turning in John right now. He's thinking about going to do this, but Killian Hayes will be back after the All-Star break. So this is someone, especially if you play in 12-man or 14-man leagues, keep an eye on here because it's just these players are going to continue to get more and more play time down the stretch. And Detroit's got the youth movement going forward, so he's going to get his. But what are your thoughts, John?
I'm sorry. I literally couldn't contain myself. And the reason it has nothing to do with Killian's stat line because it was pedestrian. It was quite boring, even when he was playing, and he was healthy. From everything I heard when he was playing, and it was only small sample size, maybe 6 to 8 games in there. But it wasn't anything to write home about. He did not impress me that much. Now he's got a long career ahead of him, and I hope I feel pretty confident he'll be a solid player, but definitely not the best first impression. But Kyle, what I got geeking out about was you said 2 weeks. he got injured within the first 2 weeks. And I saw January 4th. I was like, oh, hell no, that's way too deep in the season. But the season started at Christmas. I mean, that's the first 2 weeks of the season. You were spot on, dude. You're spot on. And sorry, that's what I was geeking out about.
No, I just remembered that we had a late start this year, and I thought it was mid-January, so I guess, but it was technically he missed like the first. He was there for the first 8 games, and maybe the first. I'm looking here, maybe the first 8 or 10 games, but in those games, only 21 minutes per game, 4.6 points, 1.1 boards, 3.6 assists. Now, again, he's just getting his rookie legs under him here. He was behind Derrick Rose at the time. He wasn't getting starter minutes, I believe. So, but again, I can guarantee you this is a player that they're going to want to get ramped up down the stretch. But maybe this Saban Lee guy, maybe this Saban Lee just takes off and says, I don't know, let's see what's going on here and keep getting some play time. But definitely someone to watch. That's how we got to this point where we're talking about this. But I don't know. We're kind of on a good thread here of players that are injured. Should we maybe look at the list one more time and just see if anybody else sticks out?
Absolutely. Why not?
We're going to click on IR eligible. We'll see who is available, and we're going to filter by percent rostered. So, I mean, Drummond, Christian Wood, DeMar DeRozan, Drew Holiday. I still think Drew Holiday is a good trade buy low candidate right now. He's been out with COVID, and it's been a while. Like, it's been since February 8th, which is today's the 23rd. So that's been 15 days. And I don't know if they're going to hold him out, through the All-Star break, but someone's probably frustrated with Drew Holiday, so it might be time to kick the tires on a guy like him. Trying to think anybody else here. The
Keldon Johnson could potentially be available in your league, or like Aaron Gordon. Those two players could potentially be available in your league. I wouldn't be afraid to pick them up.
Now the Spurs have their COVID protocols and stuff going on, so it sounds like they're playing tomorrow night, if I remember correctly. Johnson is in the league's health and safety protocols and will not be available for Wednesday's game against Thunder. So they are playing against the Thunder tomorrow night, but it doesn't sound like Johnson's going to play. So if someone's dropping Keldon and you got those IR spots, definitely fill him in there. The other name, I like Lauri Markkanen a lot. He had a shoulder injury, so they said he hasn't been cleared for on-court work yet. This was from yesterday. But he's getting more and more involved in the practice, I guess, in terms of just conditioning and stuff. And because it's a shoulder, like his conditioning should be fine. So this is a guy that I look forward to getting back after the All-Star break. And then you mentioned Aaron Gordon. We still haven't seen Jaren Jackson Jr. yet. And I'm super excited for when Memphis gets him back, just because we've talked about Memphis and how many fantasy players that they have on their team. So I'm not sure. This was an update from a week ago. So there's still – that midseason break between March 5th to 10th, that's sometime after that. So he's going to be a guy returning after the All-Star break as well. We haven't heard any updates on Karis Levert. Let me pull this up. He's closing in on a return to non-contact basketball activity. So he's still a ways out, it seems, but maybe we see him at some point in the second half of this season. Any other names stick out here for you, John?
Not really for me. The names that stick out, a lot of them are guys that I don't want this year. Maybe next year, but not this year. Mostly because of how long their injuries are. I'm a big Cole Anthony stan. I guess Cole Anthony sticks out to me a little bit. And he's not super high rostered right now, so maybe he's very gettable if you need some guard help for the stretch run. But beyond that.
And Cole,
I think we've covered this pretty good, and I'd love to talk more about the All-Stars if you want to.
Yeah, we'll wrap up. I just have one more thought on Cole Anthony because it says he's out until the All-Star break. So in his place, I think Michael Carter Williams is starting. I just want to make sure that is correct here. Let me go to where is my Orlando Magic? Oh, it's right here. So starting for the Orlando Magic, Michael Carter Williams tonight. 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 6 points. So it's nothing flashy, but he's getting starter minutes. Let me just pull his name up real quick, and then we can get to the All-Stars. So Michael Carter Williams, in the last 7 days, 30 minutes per game, 5.7 points, 5 boards, 5.7 assists. So this is looking like a player in a 12-man league that needs to be owned. You look at these floors here, and you're going to get, again, March 3rd. That's the last game for the Orlando Magic. So you got another 10 days of getting some Michael Carter Williams points. Just want to throw that out there. But all-star conversation. What do you got there, sir?
So first, okay, so I'm taking us on a joyride here. Missed games. I think I extracted every ounce of information from the list. I'm gonna read the teams that have 3 or more missed games. I think it's a list of 5 or 6 teams, and this is me just counting off of a list. I could have made a mistake or two, but I tried really hard. Let me know when you're ready.
Go ahead, go for it.
All right, so there's 2 teams that have 5 missed games so far that, as far as I'm aware, have not been rescheduled. And those 2 teams are the Spurs and the Grizzlies. So the reason we wanted to talk about this is, like, if you're making long-term decisions on your team and somehow you're deciding between player A and player B, and maybe for whatever reason, player A plays for the Spurs or the Grizzlies and player B does not, and you're thinking this is a long-term play for the rest of the season, these 2 teams could potentially make up a large number of games and potentially then have an advantage in the playoffs. They play more games. So just keep that in mind. I don't know how useful that information is going to be, but I think we should keep it in mind.
You said it was the Spurs and which other team?
The Grizzlies both have 5.
Grizzlies. So guys that are, I mean, really on the Spurs, like DeMar DeRozan and Dejounte Murray, those are the most owned guys, well over 90%. But you're looking at Keldon Johnson, even LaMarcus Aldridge, Derek White. I think those 3 names need to be owned down the stretch. Like if they're available in your 12-man league, definitely consider adding those guys. And then that other team here, Spurs and the Memphis Grizzlies. Let me filter by team here. Because we looked at the Grizzlies not too long ago, and they have a lot of fantasy relevant players. Of course, John Morant, Jonas Valanciunas, Kyle Anderson. I think Brandon Clark, he's only 65% owned. That seems to me like a mistake. I know his numbers have been kind of soft lately, but the dude's averaging 27 points on the season. And then, of course, we talked about Jaren Jackson, who's got a high ownership. Dylan Brooks, like that's probably the cutoff here. Dylan Brooks is still a really good scorer, and he can easily be the worst player on your team for a 12-man league. So more games, please. Like if I can get more games out of these guys, that sounds great. Were there any teams that had 4 postponements?
No teams with 4, but then there's a 3-way tie or a 4-way tie for 3 games, okay. 3 missed games, and then the rest of the teams have 2 or 1. So the 4 teams with 3 missed games include the Hornets, the Cavaliers, the Blazers, and the Wizards. Those teams have all missed 3 games this season. Again, that's just me counting. I might have made a mistake or 2, but I'm pretty sure I'm pretty close. So those are teams that, maybe not as exciting as the Grizzlies or the Spurs there, but still keep your eye on them.
And I'm going to double down and say CJ McCollum. Just say, hey, go check out the CJ McCollum owner.
Yeah.
How he's feeling. You're getting 3 extra games versus, a team that's getting no extra games the rest of the way. And McCollum, he's going to be back maybe before the All-Star break. So really good sign there. You mentioned the Charlotte Hornets. Let's take a peek at them. I don't know if there's anything that sticks out. I think they're pretty top-heavy. But Miles Bridges, Cody Zeller, like some of these guys need to be picked up. Even P.J. Washington saw a dip in some numbers here. So there's a lot of guys on those teams that I'm pretty excited about. But I don't know, man. Any other final thoughts before we check out some of your Top Shot moments?
Oh, God. No more fantasy basketball thoughts that are pressing. We were going to talk about the All-Stars, but we can talk about that with some of my Top Shot moments.
we can finalize. Well, we can kind of let's kind of preview that because the 2 moments we're going to be looking at are both All-Star moments. So I don't know which one you want to talk about for. Do you want to talk about Jalen Brown first?
Well, Jalen's just been having such a fantastic season. Maybe not necessarily like a superstar fantasy season, but I think his actual on the court performance is really exceeding his fantasy performance right now. He's just very much figured it out, and he's also an elite defender on the wing. There's just not many guys who can play both sides of the ball as efficiently and effectively as Jalen's able to do it. So I'm a big fan of Jalen. He's such a good number 2, and he maybe could be a number one day, but he's such a perfect number two for no matter what kind of number one you have, whether it's a big guy, a point guard, or in the Celtics case, another wing, Tatum. So he just fits any system and any roster.
And I'd like that. I mean, the value for fantasy basketball this year on Jalen Brown, that's one of your league winners. I think also on this list is Julius Randle making the All-Star team. So that's exciting to see some of these young guys, actually have a career seasons and finally get into it. Zach LaVine's another one. I don't know if he's having a career season. We can look at the numbers in a second, but the ones that excite me the most, I think, are Julius Randle and Jalen Brown. And the Knicks are probably a playoff team this year. That's pretty exciting for New York Knicks fans. And then, of course, Zion, his first full season, he's going to be there. Brandon Ingram also could have been on this list, I think. I'm trying to think of any other potential snubs, like even like SGA, Ingram, Devin Booker, any other names that come to mind that could have been, like, did Chris Paul need an 11th All-Star appearance? That one kind of feels like a player vote, maybe. I'm not sure, or a fan vote.
Yeah, I mean, Paul easily could be off the list. Is Booker a starter?
No.
So Booker did not make the team.
Booker, here's your starters. Let me zoom out. James, Doncic, Jokic, and Leonard.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, of course. We just talked about this. Yeah, no way he would be a starter. But yeah, it's crazy Booker did not make the All-Star team and someone on his team did. That is pretty hard to wrap your head around. But they decided one of the two was going to make it. There was only room for one of the two. I guess that's fair. And somehow Paul snuck in. He is the point god, to be fair. But just straight up this season, no, I think Booker's been a much better player.
And I just wanted to look for like All-Star voting real quick. I don't know if I can see some of this. This is see some stuff here. This is the Eastern Conference front court players. Got, like, Jimmy Butler didn't make it. Bam Adebayo didn't make it. Sabonis, again, that was one of our snubs there. I thought Jeremy Grant could have been a guy that, he potentially could have made his first NBA All-Star maybe next year. But those are some of the top snubs there for the Eastern front court. We look at the guards real quick, or is this more front court here? A lot of front court players here. So where is my back court? Oh.
Ooh, that's a different kind of backcourt right there.
Here we go. The Eastern Conference guards. So guys like Trae Young, Trae Young missed it. Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
I think Fred VanVleet can make a case. Even Kyle Lowry's been playing pretty well this year. So those are probably the top names there.
The NBA is just flush with elite talent. I mean, it's insane how much top level talent there is in the league. And not all these guys can just like lead a team into playoffs and win series, but these guys are so damn good. I mean, you can make great cases for 20 guys in each conference, and that's awesome. That's so good for the state of the league.
I think the NBA needs two more franchises, one in each, East, one West. Because there's so many good players, and the way that the G League has been performing, like there's really good, like this Saban Lee, like this guy probably was in the G League at some point, and now he's putting up big numbers in the NBA. I think the NBA G League has been a really successful creation from them, and I think there's enough players to go around that they can maybe support two more franchises, one East, one West. I don't know.
3 years ago, I would have disagreed with you, and last year I would have had a hard time agreeing just because it was still such a new thought to me. But I'm open to that now. I think you're spot on. The league has evolved. The 3-point shot has made entry into the league a little more accessible for a few more kinds and types of players, and it's just exploding. Basketball is moving in a very positive direction right now. In its worst, it's the second most popular sport on the planet. So, and right now it's moving in an upward direction.
The way it is, like you got veterans like Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, DeMarcus Cousins. Like these guys don't have a team right now. Essentially, they're just kind of floating. So I don't know. It's just a thought I've had. I've had conversations with Drake off the air, but like I don't know. Like I'd like to see basketball back in Seattle. I think maybe even like a Midwest team like St. Louis or even Iowa. Like let's get some more. We need another Midwest team. I think the East and West are pretty well covered, but I do think Seattle probably deserves a basketball team. I don't
Seattle is option one. Option A. It's the right choice, and they deserve it. So what's your second choice? Because that's the one that's the most interesting. I have one for you that you're gonna love, but you're not thinking of.
As far as the city,
yeah.
Better.
But I want to hear yours first. What's your preferred second choice?
For what, like, conference, East or West?
It doesn't matter, because another thing they've talked about a lot is potentially moving the Grizzlies to the Eastern Conference. So you could add two teams out west. You could theoretically add a team out east and move someone. I mean, it's doing it in the East is a little more tricky, but you could do it.
Okay, so I definitely think the Midwest needs a team, whether it's in St. Louis. I also think a team can work in like Iowa or something kind of in that Midwestern area. I'm thinking of another spot here. I do like Seattle quite a bit. I'm just going to look at like a stupid USA map here real quick, just to like trying to think of a map of NBA teams, NBA map teams. Let me see if I can pull this up here.
Before you pull up this map, I want to give you my choice.
Okay.
Because I don't want people to think it was influenced by the map. Las Vegas.
Oh yes, how did that one slip my mind? That's
because you're a well-behaved man.
And then essentially here too is if you move the Grizzlies to the East.
Yep. Or even the Pelicans, you could do that with the Pelicans too.
Well, why is Minnesota in the West?
You could do it. Yeah, actually, Minnesota's in the same conference as the Blazers, and the Jazz and the Nuggets. So they have the most travel all year. So yeah, you could move especially if you added Seattle, you could add Seattle to that Portland division, the Pacific, or the Northwest, I believe, and then move Minnesota to the Central, and that just makes all sorts of sense.
So I really think like Missouri could use that. Like St. Louis, and they lost their football team. I think basketball could be supported in St. Louis. Seattle, Las Vegas is such a good one. I don't know if they could do a team in Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming.
No, I don't think they could. I don't think the NBA. I think they could. I don't think the NBA would want that though.
No, but I definitely think it's like Iowa, Missouri, somewhere in that region. But I just think St. Louis is probably the town to host one. And then I also think Kentucky could maybe get one. If you've heard Memphis wants to move.
No. I've heard people on the internet say, "Hey, you could just easily move the Grizzlies or the Pelicans to the Eastern Conference," and I've had the thought about the Timberwolves. Most Minnesota teams are in the same division as teams in like Chicago and Wisconsin, and that just makes sense too. So, yeah, you could easily. The NBA. That's the kind of restructuring they'd have to think about, because the West makes sense from all sorts of perspectives to drop a bunch of teams into, and also like Canada is an interesting option, like maybe something like Montreal or bring in Vancouver basketball back.
Vancouver.
I've heard a lot of that talk too. So.
Okay, it's an exciting thought process to try to figure out what potential could happen in the NBA, but I just think there's potential to grow, and as more and more people get excited about the NBA. But anyways, I wanted to go look up John's Top Shot collection real quick, and we'll let you kind of gush about some of the moments that you have. You got two moments that I think are worth talking about here. So we're gonna pull up the where am I? Moments. And you got, so do you want to talk about Giannis or Jalen Brown first?
We could start with we'll go Giannis. That sounds great. So this is a moment that is really interesting to me. So it's the bubble, which I think is just unique. It's a classic Giannis Euro step dunk through the wall over multiple bodies or through multiple bodies. He dunked on just one person. It's just a cool play. I love this play. It's also a super stereotypical Giannis play because he has probably at this point 30, 50 plays in his catalog that look and smell kind of like this. But I love when he dominates other NBA players like this. And then the cherry on top for me, his jersey number is in the serial number. It's not the ideal situation, but it's in there. So that's always fun too.
And then I was going to say the dunks on Vucevic. It's you see number 9 there with the little cameo. He dunks on Vucevic. I don't remember which game this was. I'm assuming it was game 2 or 3. But it's a playoff moment. Pretty cool dunk. Only 499 in circulation, and like you said, number 341. You got the number in the name there, and it's also too. I think this is gonna it's MVP moves. This is his MVP season, so I think that's a little extra seasoning as this card grows in value down the line. So that again, do you want to say how much you purchased that for, and how much is it tripled? Is what's the value gone up since you purchased?
Sure. So I bought it. So I was talking about going in with it with a friend, actually. We were at 750. We were looking at it. We were looking really, really hard, and we were talking about co-investing in it. My friend backed out. The next morning I woke up and it was at 820. And I said to myself, I need to buy this right now. And so I bought it. And, 2 days ago, it was at just a shade over 4,000. I think today it's just a shade under 3,000. So it's kind of peaked and it's on the way down a little bit, but I'm still very confident in its value over time. So the low is right at 3,000. I checked earlier today and it was just slightly below 3, and what that means is someone probably bought that one.
So you can't be mad with that. You essentially almost 4x'd your money already.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's an exciting moment, and I think it's got room to grow.
I also think your fandom, being a Giannis and a Bucks fan too, that adds more value for you. And that's what's cool about Top Shot is you can get into some of these moments whether you like the team or the player. Like that's part of it too. Not only is it worth money, but it's also a pretty important play in one of your favorite teams. But now this Jalen Brown dunk, what can you tell me about this one?
He Supermans it. I mean, he kind of Supermans it. It's a classic attempt at the MJ, even just that Superman style dunk where or the Jordan style, I guess, is probably the more appropriate way to say that, especially in basketball terms, where they spread the legs, go up, and just one hand the bitch. Excuse me, mom and dad. But it's such a fun play. It's in the bubble, which I for whatever reason, I just think these bubble moments are going to be near and dear to the people who got into Top Shot at the beginning, and also the people with the Top Shot with the Dapper funds. Let me put it that way. But I like this play. I think So Fresh is my favorite series that I've at least that's been titled. I love the word fresh. And so I love Jalen Brown. It's a fun play. And this is a moment I'm co-investing. I co-invested in with a friend. Happy birthday, Jesse. Hope you're watching. Hope you're enjoying me gush about my favorite co-investment with you.
The shoes, man. The shoes just make everything perfect. Just the lime, the minty.
So fresh. Yeah, just a hint of lime, Kyle.
So I don't know, pretty cool card. But I don't know. Any other final thoughts here before we get out of here tonight?
Can we see one of your Top Shot moments? Can we see your baby, your favorite? And before we get there, tell us why it's the Kevin Huerter.
Well, that's one of them. That's been one of the ones that I handpicked. That was technically a pretty good value at the moment. But I like that one. But I moved and wheeled and dealed some dunks. I have a few for sale here. This Norman Powell one. I have a weird soft spot for Raptors. Norman Powell, OG Anunoby. I really like the Raptors. That one's probably my most valuable card. But we'll take a look at this Kevin Herter moment because we're both co-owners of it. Definitely not a huge moment. It's just a base set series one. But there's only 2,700 of these made. But this is also a game-winning shot here by Kevin Herter. There's still 5 seconds left here, but that was the game-winning shot here. The nice behind-the-back pass from Trae Young is also in it too, so that's part of an assist moment. And just a young, I could see Kevin Herter having a really long, healthy career, being a 3-point shooter in the league. It's not going to surprise me if we see him pop off for some 50-point game one night, and the value of this card just doubles overnight or something. So it was $40 at the time we bought it. It's probably over $200 at the moment. So I don't know. It's just a cool piece of history. And this was from 2020 season, so there's fans there, obviously. I don't know. I think it's just a really sweet moment, game-winning shot. Why not take a shot on it? But
yeah, I mean, it's of all the series one, just base set, just straight up series ones. It's one of the lowest, not necessarily the serial number we own, but the edition serial number, the upper limit of the edition. Under 3,000 is a pretty low. I don't know. I think that's kind of small, especially when there's just all sorts of moments with 15 and 12,000 total out there in circulation. So this is a moment that was immediately perked my interest when you told me about it. And sometimes you can find gems like this if you're just kind of paying attention to the marketplace. So it's just due diligence.
If we fast forward a year from now and we see how many moments and how many things are on Top Shot, all of a sudden a card that has only 2767 total in circulation, there's going to be cards with 25k, 30 some, there might even be cards with 40 or 50k in circulation. So I think this one's going to continue to get more rare and rare, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Any card under 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 total in circulation, I think that's probably where the best place to put your money into the market right now. And then I guess, so technically, again, my favorite moment right now is this Norman Powell dunk. And it's from the Hometown Showdown Cali versus New York series. I got number 205 of 1,000. And the dude's going to dunk on Andre Drummond here back when he was with the Pistons. I don't know. I'm a Norman Powell fan, so it's added value to me. But I don't know. I think it's just a cool moment here.
That is a good one. That's a great one. Drummond is we always gush about Drummond's defensive abilities too. That's a nice poster to get.
Yeah, and again, there's only 1,000 of these in print, and some of the top sales are pretty nice. There's not too many of these, so I'd like this one to grow quite a bit. So that's probably my favorite and best moment on Top Shot. But I don't know. I opened up Jason Tatum, Kobe White last night, so that was pretty cool. The Kobe White too was number 90 something, 924 or something. So I don't know.
Did you reach out to Kobe via socials yet and be like, hey man, do you want me to, if you come on my podcast, I'll gift you your moment?
Oh, I didn't do that. I tweeted out the moment and just attached his name to it. So nothing happened, but I don't know. He's seen it. He's seen it at least, I would think. But I don't know, man. I want more packs. I want more packs, and I want more packs. That's pretty much it.
Same.
And I think we were talking off the air. We're gonna probably do some pack opening things in the future here. So when we do get that next pack, hopefully it's the Bring It Back pack, right? Is that the one that
Run It Back?
Run It Back. So some old school moments. Hopefully we can get our hands on those packs. But we will get into some of those. But I don't know, man. Any other final thoughts? Otherwise, we'll get out of here.
I didn't think we needed a Top Shot podcast, but I guess we do. I mean, it's at this point, I could talk about that just as long as I could talk about basketball. So for the people, if you are not aware, it has arrived, and this is not a financial advice podcast, but I definitely encourage you to do what you want.
Right. And I don't know, check it out. I got a referral link in the description below. Check it out if you guys are interested in NBA Top Shot. Check out some of the other videos I've made the last 5 days. There's a bunch out there. But we're going to get out of here. We got basketball to watch. Enjoy the rest of your evening, John. You guys have a good rest of your night as well. Thanks for hanging out. Peace.